Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. Father, we thank you for Matt for coming into the studio with us. This is going to be fun. Father, we thank you for Standon and Rob for their birthdays today, Father. Their anniversaries of their birthdays. You know, Father, those are very special days, Father. And for Standon, his first one, it's an amazing day. Father, we thank you for that. Father, we ask that you sit with us and you help us work through this day. And we bless this in your name. Amen. Let's go to work.
Welcome back to Recovery Unfiltered. It's Rob and Larry and you're here again. We don't need letters before or after our names. Just two drunks with a lot on our brains. Sit back, relax, let us carry the load. We've walked that dark and winding road. We're just two alcoholics with a lot to say. This is Recovery Unfiltered.
Welcome back, Robert.
What's up, kid?
Happy fucking birthday to you.
Not yet. No fronts,
listen,
motherfucker. No fronts in AA.
Listen,
No fronts in
You're
sobriety.
getting a front today because
Right.
I'm recording today. We're recording
Hey, I forgot.
today.
He gets to break the rules. Matt, if you didn't know, rules don't apply to him. Just us.
None.
Oh.
None.
Yeah.
Only to Larry.
He rewrites
in
all of that
Larry's
shit.
books. In Larry's books. So, but we're recording today, so I get the privilege of giving you a chip today, and that's what I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Okay.
You prick. And then we got Standon, who is with us today. Standon is my only success story for sponsorship so far.
Well, no. Blake.
Blake, I'm sorry, Blake. But Blake, I don't hear from Blake as much as I hear from Standon. Standon, me and Standon, we've been friends for a while though. So me and Standon, we
It's at Waterford Bond.
yeah.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay. He's gonna start pulling away now. Fuck that guy.
He has to.
What's the weather like out there, Matt? How you doing?
Man, so I grew up in Paradise. I grew up in San Diego. And
Okay.
so I come out here and I move out here. It's January 28th is the date I get here. 2 weeks later is Hurricane Beryl. And then 2 weeks after that, it was 20 degrees. And then 2 weeks after that, it was 80 with 80% humidity.
Shit.
So I come out here, I'm like, what is going on? You know? And then it's just so humid here all the time. But it's a good city.
You know, when I would go down there, I'd go down there probably like April, March, May, in that period of time. I didn't have the humidity you had. Hey, so who we have with us today, and I'm excited for this, is right after I started recording for a little while, Matt reached out to me and we started chit-chatting back and forth, and he had started a podcast. We started our podcast about the same time. So him and I have been bouncing stuff back and forth with each other for a little while, and we finally worked this out to where him and I, we can do this little collaboration with the two of us. He's obviously not in his studio. I mean, he does his podcast is called My Last Relapse, which is amazing. I love listening to some of your stories. You get some hard hitters coming in there too. So, hey Matt, just tell us a little bit about your podcast and tell us a little bit about you.
So obviously My Last Relapse, it is named after probably the most pivotal moment of my life, which was my last relapse. But it was 11 days and nothing happened, right? There was no real consequences. There was nothing that you could point to be like, oh yeah, for sure. That would be a reason why, especially when you consider I've done 10 years in prison, lost a marriage, lost a kid, alienated from my 10 siblings for 14 plus years, slammed heroin for 17 years, slammed meth for 12, did drugs for 20, right? So when you consider all that, to hear somebody say that the most pivotal moment of my life was 11 uneventful days, right? So it's like, that's where the podcast name comes from. Honestly, the podcast is really directed at raising awareness and education around things that the treatment industry doesn't want to talk about.
Like what? Like,
Yeah.
Like that what? That's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to sum this up is that the treatment industry, which I own treatment, right? So it doesn't really benefit me to be saying this stuff, but it claims to be the business of saving lives. It's really the business of saving lives that can afford it.
Gotcha.
And
I agree with that.
that, there are lives that get sacrificed, right? And my problem with that isn't that people are making money. It's that my kind of addict are the people that get sacrificed, right? And so that's kind of the whole sum and parcel of what I do with the podcast. Obviously, like like Larry said, I get some really cool people. I've had people fly themselves in from the Dakotas, from California, from
Yeah, they've been fun.
yeah. I mean, so I get some really cool guests. But a lot of what I personally try to do is to raise education and awareness around not just addiction, but the solution, right?
Yes.
It's really what I try to do.
Yeah, and that's to me is what when Rob and I started this, that's was the number one thing for me. You know, we talking about the disease, whatever. We talk about it in our meetings all the time, but let's focus on what it took us to get from zero, right? From zero to here, and then let's talk about it what it's like afterwards, right? The love, everything else that comes in afterwards, the rekindling of the family, the rekindling you with your wife and with your kids and the stuff that, you know, this talk about that a little bit about your recovery once you come back from your last relapse.
Yeah, so coming back from my last relapse was an interesting process. I do talk about, so I found peer support, right? And I found a component of my recovery that had been completely neglected before, and that's I discovered the gym, right? I found a mentor that really helped me. Yeah, for sure. So, right? It's like,
My wife says when I got sober, I went from alcohol and meth.
Right.
I got addicted to God, the gym.
yeah.
You know,
Dude, it's a recipe for success, right? But it's like people forget that the vehicle that you get around in for however long you're on this earth, that needs maintenance as well as your spiritual and mental and emotional. And so I see people all the time where it's like, they got 30, 40 years of sobriety, but they are out of shape and unhealthy. And it's like, you're leaving so much money on the table. Like there's literally a lot of things that you're leaving unaddressed in your recovery. Like just the whole person, right? What I tell all the young men that I work with is I speak from a man's perspective. So there's 4 parts of the human, but there's 4 parts of the man, right? It's mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. And the goal is to be even keeled, right? But if you're missing any of those, if there's deficiencies in any of those, there's gravity in it and it will pull the rest of them down. So if your physical is lacking, it'll pull your spiritual down. If your spiritual is lacking, it'll pull your mental down, right? And so,
Boat anchors.
yeah, dude, it can destroy a person's recovery, right? And so I discovered the gym, I discovered peer support, and I found this mentor, and I started down this road that I was literally living under a bridge 5 years ago, okay? If you'd have told that person that I'd be doing a quarter of the things that I was doing today, I wouldn't have thought that it was possible, right? And so today, my recovery, since I came back from my last relapse, I had another kid. So now I have a 6-month-old, an almost 5-year-old, and my wife and I were living under that bridge together. We're married, and we have our second kid.
Were you married when you were under the bridge together? Were you guys?
We weren't married. We got married after. Yeah.
I remember that part of it. I remember you telling that story to somebody else, and I was like, "Good grief! What the two of you have gone through together, right? The bond that you two had to pull in together to get from that to where you are on right now. Very few people in this world would ever have survived that, right?
Yeah.
Even if you guys were together in your addiction, it's still. I mean, even sober people that have an addict that live together, they can't come together. And then 2 addicts learning to live together from the bridge and going into that. Good grief. The sacrifices and then the battles that had to go on between the 2 of you together. I'm sure it wasn't easy, but I'm sure you're thankful where it's at now.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. And I do tell people this as often as I can, is that it isn't ideal to go into this because the outcomes typically suck.
Yeah.
But if you can make it, right, there's a type of relationship. So we just celebrated our 3rd marriage anniversary, but we've been together for 9 years.
Wow.
Right? And so I'm 37. That's a good chunk of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so the things that you sacrifice to have that kind of relationship, like the whole princess story, like fairy tale ending, right? Like riding off into the sunset and like holding hands on the beach, walking. Like, yeah, that stuff doesn't happen every night. But I have a real partnership, like a real relationship with somebody that, she wiped my butt after I was like violently sick and like spraying on the walls and like crapping on myself and stuff. This is like somebody who has literally seen me at my worst. And now she gets to see me at my best.
Right. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
So, Matt, I got a question. I love the four parts of a man or human. On your spiritual part, okay, which one do you focus on? Which one is most important? That if you feel neglect in all of them, you got to get this one up first, and then how do you do it?
Yeah, so there's different degrees in importance for me. Like there is a hierarchy, and I believe the spiritual is obviously probably the most important overall, but there's way less maintenance. Like once you get to a certain level, right? Once you reached a certain level of like maintenance in that, there's a lot less maintenance that goes into that than say my mental, which feeds into my physical, right? And then the emotional is probably the hardest to address on a daily basis because, right? So feelings are like the weather, and emotions are like the seasons, right? Emotions will stay the same. Feelings change pretty quick. Discernment between what's a feeling and emotion, a lot of people don't ever get there.
That's a good point.
Right. And so delineating what's what, right? So figuring out what is a feeling and what is an emotion, and then learning emotional regulation for people like us, right? Like coming from where we're coming from, right? I was molested as a kid. So the personality gets shattered,
Yeah,
right? So when people talk about like the alcoholic is a master of disguise, what they're really saying is that traumatic events shatter the personality. We then learn how to mask situationally to survive, right?
Depending on the situation we're in, depends on the mask we wear.
Absolutely, right? And so we learn that survival skill, and then we enter we experience life. Because remember, a lot of this happens in childhood. We experience life. We get proficient with specific masks. Those become personalities, right? Because we all have different personalities depending on the situation. And then you get into recovery and you have to learn how to discern between who I am and who I was in certain situations, right? And so learning who I am consistently, no matter where I'm at, that's a tough and rough road that a lot of people, honestly, like the majority, I tell young men this all the time, the majority of the world stay in the solution their entire life and they try never to get close to the problem. We are coming from the problem towards the solution, right? And so we are fully capable, able to, and have done things that the majority of the world would just never do. And so because of this, like there's components to this path for men, at least, right? Like I don't want to speak to a women's experience because I've never had it. But for men, now we also need to depend on other men to socially calibrate our moral compass because it's skewed, right? And so now there's multiple components to there's moving parts to what's going on. This isn't just me going down the road. I'm trying to juggle things that are illogical because, recovery isn't the most logical thing. That's why people will constantly say, well, why do you do that? Why do you have to do that for your recovery? And we can't really tell you why, but guess what? It works. So we're going to continue to do it. Right. And so it's like, I have to try to juggle this thing and acclimate myself to things that seem illogical. Right. And ultimately, what it comes down to is emotional stability and emotional regulation is not a thing that comes easily to men in the first place, but it's even harder for a recovering person who's early in recovery, in their middle stages of recovery, and even in their long-term recovery, right? Because once you take away the symptoms of the problem, i.e. alcohol and drugs, you're left with the problem.
The ism. I, self, and me.
Yeah, right? And so that was a long answer to tell you that I think...
But it was not a one-word question either. I mean, it needed that.
Sure. So yeah, that's what it is. I think it's spirituality, physicality, and then the other two kind of are downstream from it.
How long did you do any schooling? When did you do your schooling, or have you done any schooling, or when did you get? Because you're very articulate the way you speak. Were you that way as a kid? Were you very good student in class? I mean, what? I was.
So I have a high school education, and then I've read hundreds, if not thousands, of books through prison. And a lot of them were volumes of educational material, but a lot of so when I was early in school, I was in the GATE program. So in California, it's like the Gifted Children's Program.
Know it well. Yep.
Okay. And
no, if you're about to say you were, I was gonna shoot that down.
But my dad kind of instilled in me also, we live in 2026, right? The kids nowadays, their exposure to things is massively different.
Oh yeah.
I never see. So when I was 6 years old, I remember this. There was a kid walking down the street. We were in the car, and a kid walking down the street reading. Right. My dad pointed him out and said, "You see that? That's what I want to see you guys doing." Right. Nowadays, you never see that, first of all, but it's very common to see people walking into streets because they're looking at their phone.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Right. So it's just a different world.
More than likely, social media or something that means nothing to the day. More than likely.
Yeah. Unless you're utilizing it as a tool. Right. So the thing about this is, you can build a house with a hammer, or you can beat somebody's head in with it, right?
Sure. Yep.
It's up to the operator to dictate the outcome.
Absolutely.
And so, and this goes into addiction as well. It's like, okay, if that's true, that it's up to the operator to dictate the outcome, then am I abusing drugs or was I abusing myself?
Both.
Both.
Right.
Say.
Yeah.
So the reason why I ask this is because like drugs are doing their job. How can I abuse something that's doing its job?
Using one to abuse myself.
Right.
Yeah, no. So I'm beating myself with a hammer, but the hammer was doing its job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Matt, tell us where they can find your podcast.
So the podcast is at My Last Relapse on YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/My Last Relapse.
And you know what? He's got like 900 some subscribers. What's funny is when he was telling me about it the other day, we were talking about it a little bit, and I went to his YouTube page, and I'm like, shit, he's got 900. I went to mine, I got 3, because we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
That's why I watch it. Is
Right.
YouTube. I watch ours on
That's
YouTube.
a lot of I don't talk about YouTube as much as I do Spotify and Apple.
That's all I got because I don't have any social media. But
Right.
so that's the only thing I've got.
Right. Anyways, what made you go be real strong on YouTube? Just curious, but to roll the curtains back a little bit.
My ability to interpret the analytics.
Okay. All right. I'll need to look into that a little bit further. So
Yeah.
All right, Matt, hang out, man. We're gonna go through this. We got some birthdays to happen.
Absolutely.
Interject,
Hey,
man.
hey guys, thank you for having me. I appreciate this a lot.
Dude,
Thanks for being here. California kid.
Yeah.
It's in Texas.
Yeah.
Transplant. No, like I said, we've been excited. We tried to do something with Bill and Mike from Sober but Not Mature.
Yeah.
That
Sober
other,
Not Mature.
Yeah. Those guys are great guys, and we just didn't get to work it out with them. It didn't work out right. I wasn't running the same system back then, but we're running the same system as they are now. So I'm going to try and get back on with those guys. That's another great podcast I like to listen to. You know, the podcasts that I enjoy is the ones that don't take the shit so fucking serious, and they lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So your podcast does the same thing. It puts some light into it and gives some education. That's why I love listening to it. So anyways.
Well, thank you.
It's a little bit. So this is for your listeners, probably more than ours, right? Because we're collaborating a little bit. Rob and I are going to talk about our podcast a little bit. I'm introduce myself. I'm Larry Shepard. I got 4 years sober as of April. Fuck you, Rob. This is for his listeners.
I didn't say a word.
I hope your listeners are okay with the F word because.
Dude, if you've listened to my podcast, you know.
That's guilty right there.
Anyways, I'm a little over 4 years. I had 4 years on April 12th. I was your garden variety alcoholic. I was very heavy into cocaine and alcohol in high school. It pretty much ruled my life. I had a nice little, I was pretty talented in football, and I did it for almost 11 years, and then my senior year of high school, alcohol and drugs, I decided that I loved my alcohol and my cocaine better than I did my football. So I went down that career path, and then I met a little lady that sits behind me here, and she was just yelling at me a minute ago. I met her, and I took her to the prom, and I pretty much put the alcohol behind me. I didn't touch it for a very long time, and I was your weekend garden, like I said, just your weekend. Every once in a while, have some drinks, and I didn't touch it till our kids got a little bit older, and they they kind of got out of the house, and then I started drinking a little bit more, not that much, and then 2007 I had a gastric bypass because I'd grown up to about 410 pounds, 415 pounds. So yeah, I got to be a little fat ass, and I'm 6'3".
He was even on a movie called Austin Powers. They called him Fat Bastard.
I mean, I'm 6'3", so I was carrying it very well. So, and then 2007, fuck you, Standon. And then 2007, I decided I didn't want. Well, I also have a commercial license with hazmat and everything else, and I was starting to get diabetes to where I was going to either lose my hazmat or
foot
or something was not going to go well. So I ended up having a gastric bypass. It took care of all that. And about 9 months into that, my neighbor said, "Hey, you want a beer?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And after that, it was like, shit, I can drink after this gastric bypass. And one thing led to another. And about 18 years later, I'm sitting in rehab because the alcohol progressed took a little while. But in the last 6 months, 7 months of it, I was a 24-hour-a-day drinker. I was having to watch the clock for the 6 a.m. liquor store to open up so I can stop in and pick me up some liquor on the way to work. And I would drink enough to get me to the 10 o'clock whistle, and I'd go drink on the 10 o'clock break. And I would, drink at lunchtime with the bosses. And it was just 24 hours a day. And, life was good. I didn't get any DUIs. I didn't get anything. I don't know why everybody was pissed off, right? I wasn't hurting anybody. I was paying the bills. Everything was perfectly fine.
That's what we tell ourselves.
Right? Everything was perfectly fine. The only problem is people around me was starting to lose respect for me, right? And that's the part that, that really started to hurt a lot. And then again, the health started to come in, right? My gastric bypass, the liver was shutting down. The kidneys were in trouble. I started having to see the doctor a lot more than what I wanted to. And it got to... I wasn't really caring anymore. And then just one day, I went, I never really liked to get drunk. That was like the key for me is I was not, if my legs got a little quivery, I didn't like that. Right. Or if I lost a little bit in my tongue, I didn't like that. So I would stop and I would just maintain a 0.08 or 0.01 right there. 0.1, sorry.
Yeah.
What do you guys know what 11 times 11 is?
22.
No, that's 11 plus 11.
Oh, God damn it, Matt.
I told you it's math.
This ain't fucking class.
Dude, we just did this on a live, and I was like, oh, yeah, well, what's 11 times 11? He's all, 122? I was like, nope, 121. And then he was like, no, it's 122. I was like, oh, yeah, it's 122. And then we found out like a week later, after it was posted and clipped and stuff, we found out that we were wrong.
You argued about it?
Oh, yeah, we were arguing about it.
I argued about how to spell salmon on here one time.
Wow.
There's an L in it.
Yeah, there's an L in it.
That's so funny. Anyways, I got a little too far gone on a Saturday, and nobody can get a hold of me. And I'm giving a 30,000 foot view of this little recovery thing, and everybody was pissed off at me. And I went to call my son-in-law who was racing. He races motorcycles, and he was down south. He's up Paula. And I tried to call him, and he wouldn't take my phone call. And for whatever reason, that period of that moment was a moment of clarity for me, right? It was just that moment of clarity where, holy shit, I lost a little bit of respect from this guy as well. So, and I said, you know what? I turned around and looked at my wife and my daughter and my in-laws that were standing there, and I'm like, take me to rehab. I'm over. Take me to Maynard's. I can't do this by myself anymore. And 2 days later, I was in Maynard's and watched my wife and 2 daughters drive away. And that was by far the most heart-wrenching day of my life, was to watch those 3 ladies drive away, because those were everything I worked my ass off for. And so I worked my ass off in rehab and done it ever since.
The last 7 days you did. First 26, you shit on them, dude. It's fucking kidding.
Well, it took a little bit for God to kind of step on my heart, but the last of it, and the fortunate part of mine in the rehab is I had that spiritual awakening, like what Rob said, in those last 5 to 7 days, and it was that something just hit. And
it was a spiritual experience. Like the big
and it was, and just something hit, and I wanted more of whatever it was, because that little bit of light that I saw, I realized just how much of a dark place I was living in, and how much of just a hole I was living in. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I just saw something, and I'm going to chase it. And you know what? The serenity in my life is better than any drug I've ever put in my body, or better than any booze I've ever drank, or better than anything I've ever done. And when I feel that serenity starting to slip, I stop and I figure out where it's at, and I figure out how to get it back in me. I mean, I say this all the time. It's, you know what? I've told my wife, I've told my bosses, I told my kids that nothing's going to ever come between me and my serenity. Nothing, absolutely nothing will ever take that place of that ever again. And, you know, my bosses know it, my wife knows it, and my any relationship I have, they know it. And that's just, you know, and I live my life that way. I don't let anything become between me and my serenity and that thing that keeps me at peace and keeps my joy inside of my life. There's a lot of shit that happens, you know, around, and we get angry, we get mad, we get, you know, all those emotions still come, but it's how we deal with those as we go through the day, right? As we go along. How many times it says that in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? As we go along, and then just life goes along, and whenever those things pop up, we have to deal with them.
Well, that's step 10, basically.
Yeah, we deal with them right away. We don't.
Well, how free do you? I hope you deal with them right away. How free do you want to be? You want to wallow in shit, or do you want to be free?
Right.
It's all available.
Absolutely. So that's me, and you know, this podcast kind of come along, and I'm going to introduce my partner here in just a minute. And the reason why our podcast started is I had a very close friend of mine. I was sober about 2 years, and I had a very close friend of mine pass away. His son passed away of a fentanyl overdose. And it shook me to the core. I tried to go and help him, and he was very inconsolable. And he kept trying to tell me, Larry, I should have called you. I should have reached out to you. You know, I should have done this. I should have done that. And I tried to get him to understand that no matter how much or how many people I could have brought over or how much, it wouldn't have mattered if he wasn't ready. Just him, he had to be ready. He had to be in that spot. And he, you know, that he was, I think he tried a few times and he just
wasn't ready.
Wasn't ready. And, you know, God didn't give him that willing heart, I think is what I say. He didn't have that willing heart. And, so I went off. I was actually in Houston, Texas, Matt, and I was in your town, and I had a meeting out in Beaumont, which is about an hour and a half drive, about 2 hour drive. And I was staying there, and I had meetings in Houston the day after that one. And I was a little ahead of my time, and my appointment was, and I woke up at 5:30 there, which was 3:30 at our time. And it was, so I was still a little sleepy, and I lay back down for a few minutes, and man, I had Rob always says, you didn't have a dream, Larry, you had a vision. I had a vision of me sitting inside this room with, you know, and around a table just like this in the studio that we've built, talking to families and brothers and sisters and mothers about, you know, the recovery side and
what addiction is, what it isn't, and
just answering questions, trying to get everybody to understand what this miserable thing that we work through is, right? And if we can get through it and we can work through it, there's a life on the other side of it that's amazing. And it's not that, you know, the families, the mothers, the wives, you know, everything that, to bring those back together, to get them to understand what they've been through and to help heal that is what Rob and I, you know, we work for. And I went down, I went down to Beaumont, and on my drive back, I called my buddy Rob, and I said, who's also my sponsor at the time. And I said, hey, I had this vision. I kind of explained it to him, and I said, hey, would you start a podcast with me? He goes, absolutely. You know? And we aired our first one July 7th, 2024, I think it was. 2024, July 7th. And this one will be 104 episodes right here. So we're coming up on it. And so my buddy Rob, today we call it his drunkiversary, right? Today it was when he took his last drink, but he calls his anniversary June 1st. So, but one of the things that Rob has always done for me is he's always given me my chip, right, on our anniversary, and it's something that we've always done for each other. He's given me mine, and I've been given his. So I am going to give Rob his 15th chip.
Hold it up. Let's see it.
Try to do my best.
Holy fuck, that's a big one.
You may have to get it. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah. We'll figure out how to get it in there, Matt. If he stands up, he can put it right in that one. There it is.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, focus.
I'll put a picture up on our Instagram.
All right.
Yeah, but that's his 15, and God damn it, the men this guy has walked through the steps, Matt, is incredible. When I say it's probably in the hundreds, oh, you okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
When I say it's probably in the hundreds, Rob, I think that I'm not too far from that. He's walked through the steps. He's an amazing. You're absolutely welcome, brother. He's absolutely amazing human being to have in my life. I don't know, you know, God has been an amazing amazing tool for me. Not a tool, but amazing in my life. But without Rob guiding me through that, I don't think I would have made it. So, Rob, tell us about yourself and tell us about
As great as this is, one of the greatest gifts you've ever given me. This is good. How long ago was it? A few months, Matt. He fired me on air as a sponsor. I danced like I've never danced before. I think I went home and danced naked. I was so great. I told my wife, free.
prick.
Ding dong, the witches. So anyway, but the funny thing is, the gentleman he took as his next sponsor to kind of take him back through the steps and refresh a lot of things, I sponsor him too. So it's not like he got away from me.
Yeah, he's in the tree still.
Away from me
Two
anyways,
levels
prick.
of separation, whatever. It's all good. But thank you. Rob Thomas, grateful alcoholic. Matt, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
And I will be a lot more brief than Larry. He loves it. One time, okay, I'm going to say this is, okay, there's my chicken. That's Abigail. That's my girlfriend, Abigail. My chicken died, Matt.
Oh,
I honor her all the time. So my drug of choice was Jack Daniels and methamphetamines. Let's go. Work hard, play hard. My drinking got heavier. So it was just, like Larry said, I mean, I wasn't hurting anybody. I go to work, didn't kick the dog, didn't beat the wife, go to work, come home. But one day, Matt, I was always like you. I was always been a great, pretty smart, pretty good test taker. So they decided to do a random drug test 22 years ago. My son's about to turn 22. He was in my wife's stomach. And I failed. I failed my first test. So
You studied really hard for it.
Fuck, yes, I did. But luckily, I'm in a great union and everything, and I lied as great as I could. So they sent me up for like 8 hours or 16 hours of outpatient program, which was 2 8 hours.
I love the Teamsters.
2 8. No, you operated the fucking Teamsters, local 3 operators, baby, heavy quit. Fucker. So I went to my 16 hours, which was 2 days. They just made me watch videos. And the last day, or the last hour, this guy comes in, and his drug of choice was Jack Daniels and heroin. And he starts talking to me, you know, as he's doing all the checkout paperwork. And he says, he starts talking about my dad, who in 2000 or 2001 died right next to me, had a stroke as we were working together. And that's just something that you just kind of, I never healed from. I didn't know. And I just broke. And he goes, and my time was about it. He goes, you know what? I wish I had more time. There's some steps I'd like you to do and some letters to write. I didn't know what he was talking about at that time. I said, well, that's all fine and dandy, but my time's up. Give me my paper. I'm out of here. Never touch drugs again. Never touch meth again. I left there, went and got a fifth of Jack Daniels because that's my drink of choice. And from that moment on, for the next 5-6 years, it was just downhill. You know, I never missed a day of work, but it was just drink, you know, home, drink, pass out, wake up, work. I was just an absentee father, absentee husband, until one day alcohol stopped working. May 28th, 15 years ago. I came in from the garage because my sister came to visit from down the hill because my nephew came the week before and said, you better go see your brother because he's not going to be around much longer. By that time, Matt, I was, you know the look, shiny, swollen. My eyes had that beautiful shade of yellow, you know, the jaundice setting in, liver shutting down. And I came in from the garage and alcohol wasn't working. My body stopped processing liquor, so I just fell on my ass, started crying, just snot, the ugly crying, like we call it. And my sister, who's 4'11", which is even shorter than me.
Yeah, she's a little bitty girl.
Yeah.
We graduated together.
She says, baby, what's wrong? And I said, I'm an alcoholic. She says, I know, but now what do you want to do about it? So then I reached out for help. I called my boss. The union got me into Maynard, the same place Larry went. But I didn't get a bed for 3 days, so I just laid on the couch and sweat and shit and piss and, you know, and shake until...
Miserable.
But then, like, because today, the 31st, I was getting ready to go up to Maynard's. They said, well, how's your shakes? I said, honey, how the fuck you think they are?
No shit.
So she goes, I need to get some alcohol. Just the same thing they said to you, get some alcohol in him.
Right.
I don't need him having a heart attack up here because there's enough stress as it is. My wife about shit a brick. You want me to put fucking what in his body? She said, Jack Daniels, baby, go get it. So,
I do the same thing with Katie when they told me, they said, whatever you do, don't let him stop drinking. I go, here, hold on, say that out loud again.
Yeah.
I had to put it to my family so the family could hear it, right?
So I went to Maynard's, 28 days. Unlike Larry, I used every day. And the same man that helped save his life, the same man that gave me the first glimmer of hope. Got out of Maynard's on a Thursday, came down to Primary Purpose on a Thursday, which is my home group. Got a sponsor that day, and we sat down, and he started breaking down what it's going to look like, you know, going through the steps. And he could tell and I shared this last Thursday when I turned on, and he could see how, because, you know, Jay, he was 36 years sober at that time. He's just 51 years sober now. He goes, son, And I can see on your face some indecision. Let me tell you this. If you're worried about the cost of going for it, you should see the price of staying exactly where you are.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what do I have to lose? Let's go. And we did it. And I've been sober ever since. And he gave me a love for the big book. He gave me a love of God and the program. And that's what I do today. And God gave me a gift to pass this on.
You know what? And talk about, Robin, I was just thinking about this the other day. The page 64, and the reason why I bring this up, Matt, is because to hear him describe this, it's so passionate, and I wanted your listeners to hear this because our listeners have heard him describe this before, but he's so passionate when it comes to this page 64, getting down to causes and solutions. Conditions, sorry.
Well, because you talked about when you were when Chris had all those chairs turned around and you saw that little speck of light because you realized you were in that darkness, in that dark room. When Jay told me that, when I sat down with him first, and then when I got my steps done, my 4-step anyway, and I put it in front of him, I did not realize I was doing the Fred Flintstone. Shut the fuck up. I was acknowledging what I had done, but making excuses for why I had done it. I wasn't owning my shit. And Jay my father died, Matt, like in 2001, like I said. So Jay was more like my father. And we were on page 64 because we're going through the book, and I have my 4-step. And he said, son, read this. And it says, our liquor's but a symptom. We had to get down to causes and conditions. Read that again, son. Read it again. Read that again, son. I'm like, fuck. I'm not getting it. So, and then instead of doing a 911 prayer like we used to, God, if you just get me out of this, or, get me out of jail, get me out of whatever, I'll never do it again. And God does. But we go right back to it. But this time I didn't. I said, Lord, I'm not getting it. Would you please help me? Simple prayer. And he did. From my mind to my heart. Then again, just like in the hallway with my sister, the snot, the tears, the ugly crying, because God showed me what that means. I wasn't the man I was and didn't behave the way I did because I drank and used. I drank and used and behaved the way I did because of the kind of man I was. I didn't have a drinking problem. I had a me problem. Right. I wasn't the devil and I wasn't an angel. But I was the problem. But I needed the steps to reveal that man and God's power to restore that man. But I broke there again. And Jay, again, saved me. He didn't say, oh, no, son. Because I was like, I'm fucking horrible. And I was. That's not a good person.
No.
And that was me. I can't. It wasn't the drugs and the alcohol that made. I took the drug, like Matt said. I abused those substances that did their job.
Right.
I did that. That's me. That's me that did all that stuff. And Jay goes, well, son, because I tell him I'm fucking horrible. I'm a horrible dad, horrible husband. He says, well, if that's what you believe, I got great news for you. I say, here's a 38-year-old man wiping the snot and the tears. Okay. He said, you don't have to stay that way. You don't have to stay that way. If you continue on this path, God can make you. Well, he goes, let's see what he can make you. You just give yourself over. And I've been sold out ever since.
That was what I had on day 5 or 7 or day 20, whatever up there at Maynard's is what you had at that period of time right there. You had that spiritual awakening at that moment right there. The same thing. And I hear people, this, I think what scares me, not scares me, that it just sucks that people never get what we got. I got it before I left up there. You got it on, with Jay.
But we keep. The book says we've had many vital spiritual experiences, plural, as they go along. Yes, when I hit my ass in the hallway of my house, the obsession left. Yep. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it had left me.
Right.
I still had, like Matt talks about, we still had to deal with the ism, the I, self, and me. Yeah. That was the problem, not Beth or Jack Daniels. Right. They're doing their job.
Right. That's a true fact. Rob, I'm telling you right now, man, I appreciate you every moment. And
I love you, buddy.
15 years, that's awesome. I mean,
hey, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Without a break in between. Through hip replacements, through cancer, all the stuff that we go through in sobriety.
That's
we don't drink, we don't use.
He doesn't talk about a whole lot. Is that year 9, Matt? He was diagnosed with stage 4
squamous cell carcinoma in my lymph node
in his throats, and he had to battle cancer through that and worked himself through it, and then COVID right in the middle of all that. So it wasn't like he's had a free walk. Then
it's been a ass kicker. But then those things, as Matt, I'm sure you know, like we talk about the mountaintops, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, because God does not call the equipped; He equips those He calls.
Right.
And in that equipping, give us the armor that we're going to need. He puts us through things that we're going to need to help others down the road. Right. And it sucks. It's painful, but it's what we need. Right. It's what I needed.
Well, I'm blessed to be in your presence, brother. I
No,
really am.
we're just God's the blessing. We're just blessed to be here, and let's go touch another life.
That's right.
But I want to say something.
Hit me.
I want to hear Matt's take on this. Okay, Matt. I get a call from one of the men that I sponsor. He celebrated 10 years. He goes, man, I got a brother. I'm real busy. There's a young man, a friend of mine needs help. Rob, can I give him your number? Absolutely. This kid, he's 34 years old. So he's not a kid. Calls me up last week. He's on day one at that time.
That's when that was the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I call him up. He calls me at 3:30 in the fucking morning. You know that fucker's probably been sitting by the phone.
Yep.
Man, is it too early? Just going through it. So he calls me up and he's just, I love the sound. Broken, fucking broken. Been in bed pissing, shitting himself. His family's done with him. They don't know what to do.
Fighting the phone.
Yeah.
Fighting that phone.
So I'll tell you what, on Thursday, we're going to a meeting. I was going to take you, I'm not going to do jujitsu. I'll take you to the newcomer meeting. Okay, so he says, okay, Thursday's day 3. And he's trying to get out of it now because he's embarrassed. He stinks. He can barely walk. I said, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm coming to your house. Right. I'll carry you down to the truck because you need what they've got at that meeting. And they need to see where you're at because that's what they had. That's what we had. So I went and picked him up. Had to carry his stinky ass into my truck, got him in the meeting, carry him in there, gave him a cup of coffee with 2 straws because he had to drink, just lean over. He couldn't hold it. He was just shaking so goddamn bad. Awesome. I fucking love it. Just talking to everybody and just, slurring his words. You probably won't even remember. However, so then Friday, we're gonna go Saturday. I was gonna take him to Saturday morning with us. By the time I go to jiu-jitsu I coach the kids from 4, get home about 7:30. Between that time, this fucker just got 2 DUIs, just got out of 6 months in jail for 2 DUIs, got in his truck, went down and got a drink. Relapse, hey, Rob, I relapsed. I'm sorry. I said, I don't care. I'll be back. I go set your alarm at 6 in the morning. I'm going to be at your house to go to our morning men's meeting. Okay. So I'm driving, and when man takes a drink or takes a drug, that phenomenon of craving takes over. I knew what so I always get to his house. He finally answers the phone. I'm not going to make it. That kind of bullshit. I said, okay. Turned around and went to the meeting. So he calls me, and here's where you talked about being ready. The difference between ready and wanting. Because we can't supply the desire. We can supply the knowledge. We can supply the time. We can supply, but we can't give you the desire to get sober. So I said, hey, bud, let me tell you. Because he thought I was mad. I go, I'm not mad. You do you. I go, call me when you're ready to get sober, and I'll go to hell with you, man. Right. No, I'm ready, Rob. I want to get sober. I said, no, you're not fucking listening. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Call me when you're ready, and buddy, I'll go to ends of the earth with you. I want to get sober. I said, motherfucker, you're not listening. What are my words saying? Because now, Matt, everybody knows with me, words matter. And I rarely say a word out of place because I say something for effect. And he goes, well, I go, what did I say? He said, when I want to get sober. I said, no. I said, when you're ready. And when you're ready, his name's Cody. When you're ready, Cody, the phone call I'm going to get from you is going to sound something like this. Because I've heard many of them. Hey, Rob. Yeah. Man, I've been 10 days sober. I just want to let you know. I've been going to meetings maybe sometimes once, twice a week or twice a day, riding my bike to the meeting that's only 12 minutes away. Man, I'm really ready to work the steps. Would you help me? That's the kind of call I'll get from someone who's ready. And when that person calls me, my family knows, my wife, my kids, I'll drop fucking everything and right now.
He will.
Right now. Let's go. Let's get started. Let's hit this, get while the fire's hot. I go, now do you understand the difference between want and ready? Yeah. I said, so call me when you're ready, and I'll go with you. Don't call me until then.
When was that?
That was Saturday. There's nothing I can do for him.
No, there's not. There's not.
I don't chase him anymore. There's nothing I can do for that
Here's
man.
the thing with that, Rob, and this is getting what...
Let's get Matt.
Hold on. It's fine. When we get to Standon, I'm going to talk about that same thing,
I'm
right?
used to that. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead.
Fuck off. But what... I don't... You were trying to get Matt's response on that?
Yeah. Matt, when a man, wants and needs it, because recovery is those who not just want it and need it. It's for those who do it. Yeah. Or else there is no recovery for you.
No.
Yeah.
But Matt, over the years, I've gone from chasing them, like really calling them up and trying to plead. I don't do that anymore because they're not ready. Right. What do you do when it's just, cause for me, it's heartbreaking because we've had let's talk about Lauren in a little bit, who was Standon's good friend. We went to school with, and now he's dead. Right. So how do you handle that thing? What do you think about that?
So I kind of take a step back approach, right? And I work with the family typically. For a kid that's in that situation, There's work that you can't have a healing person, right? Send them into a sick situation and expect them to continue to heal, right? And a lot of the people that I work with specifically are young. And so when I'll have the interactions, and then there's the ambivalence around like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I can't stop. And then it's like, I see what's going on here, right? I take the step back, and now I'm approaching the parents and going, look, when you take responsibility for somebody, you have effectively taken responsibility from that person, right? And so, sorry, the opposite. When you take responsibility for somebody, you've taken it from them, and now it's your fault. You are contributing to this issue,
You said
right?
it right the first time. You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see it in the parent. We are biologically hardwired to protect our kids. Okay. And so trying to get them through that threshold around like clutching their pearls around me, a stranger, telling them that they're killing their kid, to that logical place where they're like, oh my gosh, I am contributing to this problem. I am enabling, I am positively reinforcing negative behavior, right? Once those realizations start to happen, now we can work with it, right? Now I can approach the kid and be like, look, your parents aren't going to consistently or they're not going to contribute to your problem anymore. Like, you're an adult, you're making these decisions, and if you want to save your own life, you got to do just that. You got to save your own life, right? But nobody is going to force you to do it. We all want the best for you. We don't want to bury you. But if you don't want to do this, we cannot do this for you. And in that, I've had many conversations with parents where it's like, if you continue, you never know when they call you and they're like, hey, it's raining outside, or hey, I need $20 for food. You never know if you're robbing them of the last experience that they needed to come in for forever.
And that's
right.
And that's because this is where Larry got to me. This is why I had the conversation with the young man, because Larry got on my ass last time. And he was actually right, because I have 4 rules, when I sit down with a man. And I've always been strict with him, except for lately, because of that reason, because you never know when it's going to be, especially when we have a death.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when that's going to be the last time. And don't lie to me, and I don't lie to you. That's a rule. That's broken, you're down the road. Rule number 2. What I say to you and what you say to me stays between you, me, and God. It ain't my wife's fucking business. Right. It ain't your wife's fucking business. That's us. Because you're going to hear some things from me, like my chicken. I fucked that chicken. She died. That's Abigail, man. That's my love. Anyway, and rule number 3, anytime you want to go a different direction, go. Grow. I'm just here to help. You will not hurt my feelings. But rule number 4, don't waste my fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Which means, because I go fast like the old timers did. Let's get some recovery.
That's how it works. It's the best way.
If I ask you to get something done, if there's not a death in the family, or you have it done. If you're not, then you don't want. There's somebody God's going to put in that chair. If you realize, if you were working and you the next day, like, oh boy, with all start drinking. Okay, that's now there's a different approach. Call me when you're ready, and then you got all of me.
And that's the part that I get frustrated at watching you, because I'm so close with you. Is I watch you with the one you're talking about in particular, the one we just went through. I watch you get worn down because of your jiu-jitsu and working with your men and everything you do. I watch you as well as your wife does. Yeah. We're together a lot, and I watch you get worn down, and I don't like when I see that. And I'm a protective son of a bitch when it comes to my friends, right? I am. And when I see you getting worn down and I hear for the 4th and 5th time that this guy fucked around again, I'm like, fuck that guy, Rob. You're the one that taught me that.
No, you're right.
Why are you doing it?
Because I get that one side of my brain, like Matt talked about. What if this is the time that? But here's the problem. I've never had those special words to get someone over that last hump. Right. It's always taken more pain, and I can't produce that for them. So now
you ain't never going to create the spray that we talk about. No, you ain't going to. So don't ever fucking do it again. No. So I'm sorry. I love you to death, and that's what bothers me. You're right. Is when I see you get.
Down. The truth of this is too, we're really, really good at giving advice. But when it's time to take our own medicine, it's typically really hard. So
listen to myself, I'd be doing great.
Sure.
True fact, Matt. That is very true.
No, absolutely.
It's very hard, but that's why we stick. And you said it earlier, right? The peers. That's why we have the peers around us. When I'm getting sucked into too much, I have him to look out for me, and I have my wife to look out for me, and I have Standon who's sitting here.
Yeah, we have 20-some other brothers that call us on our shit.
Yeah, we have all kinds of guys that call us on our shit whenever we're getting into something that's too far. and we respond to it, right? If we don't respond to these guys, then what good is it to be involved in this group, right? So if one of my brothers reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Larry, you're fucking up. Stop doing that." Okay, I got to step back and look at myself, right? Because that's the part, that's the inventory.
And I did some inventory, and I changed some things up, and now all my brothers know, if you're going to call me, if you're going to call me at home,
right,
what you have to say to me better be as valuable to me as is my wife's time, the time I'm spending with my wife or my kids. Right. And if it is, and there are some things, hey Rob, I'm struggling, I want a drink, I'll come get you. Hey baby, I got to go. And they're good with that.
And I learned that.
But if it's just bullshit that can wait till tomorrow, don't fucking call me.
I learned that very early on with Rob, and I think that we just gotten through my steps, which we did extremely fast. We just gotten through my steps, and I saw how much Rob was involved in this and that, and I had to call him up one day, and I was not that sponsee that would call him when my toenail hurt. You know, that just wasn't my style. And
thank God, I don't want those.
I had to call him up one day and go, "Hey, where do you vent at? You know, where are you getting your outlet at?" And he that's when he invited me to a group in Oakdale. And at the time, Matt, there was 3 or 4 of us. There wasn't very many of us, and we were meeting at a buddy's house. And that group of peers now is 27 to 35 strong, and we're meeting in an actual office complex building.
Quilting shop is what it's
a quilting shop with one of the guys in the group. And there's 27 to 32 to 33 of them. They're getting ready to do the 3rd camping trip. I mean, it just has grown. And it's not even AA. It's not AA. It's just a group of guys that hold each other together, sharpen each other.
Well,
keep
it's
each
a group. Well, but we are a group of addicts, alcoholics
right,
who are just trying to grow spiritually as men, be better men, husbands, and hold each other accountable.
Right. So I'm going to move on to about a year ago, and probably a little bit longer than that. It's probably, I don't know, it's been, so June, it was right around in June. I didn't have to. I went to my cousin's 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, shit.
And what?
To Drama Queen Central.
Stop it. I went to my 50th, my sister-in-law's, or my cousin's 50th wedding anniversary, and somebody came up to me and started talking to me about it, because it's not like I hide my alcoholism, and I mean I'm on a podcast and do everything else, and they said, "Hey, have you heard about Standon?" I'm like, "No," and it was only one Standon. It wasn't like it was a whole gossip.
I know,
fucking.
But it's Rhonda.
Well, stop.
I love her to death.
Yeah,
and I do.
I'm like, "No, I haven't." And then she told me, and I was like, "Okay." Well, the very next day, I go out to Standon's house and try to find out, because you were still in recovery at the time. You hadn't gotten out.
Still in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you were in Nirvana at the time, and
not the band.
Not the band. You were in Nirvana at the time, and when you got out, I waited a little bit, then I was able to get over there to see you. And what you said a little bit ago, Rob, about he was ready, right? And I was able to sit with Standon. Standon was a very, very close with my cousins and that side of it. I knew Standon, but I didn't know him that well. I knew of him, and he knew of me too, because we're all the family and everything. And we sat there for a while, and Standon said a couple things to me that I was like, you know what, this boy's ready. He was 10 days sober before he went in to Nirvana. Then he went in there and he got through it. And I never heard this, and this is the only part that confused me on it. He's like, "I graduated early because I studied so hard." And I'm like, okay. But one of the things you said to me, and that didn't really bother me, is you said, something we talk about all the time on the show is my obsession to drink left. I don't have an obsession to drink. And when you said that, I'm like, this guy's got it, right? He's got it. And I gave you a lot of attention after that. And then you asked me to sponsor you, and you know what? I don't sponsor Matt, and I don't. And the reason why is because, I've literally ran people out of my house before and slammed the door behind them and told them, get the fuck out and don't ever come back. Unlike Rob, my tolerance for people wasting my time is minute. And so I really don't like to. And when Standon asks, I'm like, without a doubt, right? Because I always say that God will hit me over the head when he gets ready to. And God hit me over the head pretty hard. Standon, I'm going to tell you, man, walking you through the steps was fun. It was fun and interesting for me because I got to walk back. It was and it was joyful, and it's been amazing to watch you grow and to see what you were like prior to you getting sober, to see where you're at now, to see where you're at day to day in our conversations. It's to see where you and Andy are in your relationship, it's incredible for people like Rob and I that do it.
This is why.
This is why.
This is it.
And that's where
and the reunited families, and this is it.
So here's your 1-year chip, Santa, and I couldn't be more prouder of you for that, bud. You can do what you want with it. Congratulations, man. You worked your ass off to get that. You talked to me. Yeah, fucker. You talk to me, you call me, and I appreciate that. We work through stuff together.
The fuck you do.
I do.
I gotta go. My wife's home. I gotta go. I gotta go to something. Larry, I'm in the middle of something. I don't care. My wife just got home. I gotta go see my wife.
I've never cut you off,
The
fucker.
fuck you don't.
See, you think it was hard to sponsor me and sponsor this shit.
It's okay. I respect it.
So tell us a little bit. Lead us up into it, and then tell us about the recovery where you're at.
All right, so you're going to see a grown man cry.
That's
all right.
fine by me.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Standon.
Both of you.
Congratulations, man.
Let me join for you helping me when I needed help, and for you guys allowed me to be part of your group. This has been, I'm 50 years old, and when I say I've been humbled, it's not just financially, it's life. And, I grew up, half my family was in cattle, half in trees. My biological father was a firefighter, worked, I grew up hobie-catting and partying with everyone in Oakdale for, Feressies and the whole group. And, Cokedale was Cokedale, I grew up driving around in a vet, and I didn't know that you didn't have a Coors Original in your front seat of your vet with a loaded 22 shooting squirrels down 132. I mean, I just thought that was
normal.
I thought that was.
That's what we did.
Yeah,
normal.
Land a plane at J59 and 132. Didn't walk up to town and have lunch at the saloon.
Right.
Fly home. I mean, that was just how I grew up. My biological father was a reckless dick. That's the way I can put it. But he was always there to help somebody, but he was not. He was not always there for me, I could say. Like, I remember as a kid, standing in front of Hickman School because he was supposed to pick me up. My parents were divorced, of course. And the next thing I know, I'm walking from Hickman School down Lake Road, walking home and walking the door, and my mom go, "Why are you here?" Dale didn't pick me up. And then pretty soon, the old yellow rotary phone would ring, and I'm running late. Well, no shit, it's 2 hours later, But it's just like one of those things, My biological father passed away at 56.
Was he one of us?
He was one of us. He hurt his back and got into jack and whatever, everything. And, he died at 56 due to, what he did. And I was always, I was a late bloomer when it came to partying and thing. It was a restaurant in Oakdale that I worked up as a cleanup boy, and I learned about different stuff. And that I had not even a clue about. And, I knew of it, but I never partaked in anything. And I was kind of just a weekend partier kid. I didn't care about having beers all the time, this, that, and other. And then when I grew up, I could go weeks without having a beer or anything. And then later on in life, you start having a beer after work and this, that, and other. And we got into... just with the group I was in, it was, people stopping by the house, having beers, became more. Then I started, Grandpa at the mountains drinking whiskey, and then my wife put a kibosh to that when you pass out on the couch. I was like, no more whiskey for you. Well, and I thought, well, I'll just mix it with, have a glass of gin every night. Well, one glass of gin turned into a bottle of gin, and then, and getting video camera, her videoing me with her phone, me, passing out on the couch and snoring in the chair. And, it was... I tried to maintain it, and then we got into racing, and all weekend long we had people at our house, and so I was running the water wagon. So the next thing you know, the water wagon was a contraption I built out of an old spray rig, and it had a big pocket in the front where the motor was. Well, you're on the tractor, you take your Budweiser, you throw your empty can in the back, you grab another one, By the end of the weekend, it was full, Do I have a problem? Oh, no, because I go to work every day.
Right.
When I was working for PG&E, I worked for PG&E for 13 and a half years, and... I became a foreman. I didn't drink during the week in the hotel room. Didn't at all touch it. Every once in a while, I'd go out and have a beer with the guys on the tailgate or something, but nothing. But when I came home on the weekends, it was game on. And
I had to catch up.
And my wife said, "Why don't you drink during the week and not when you're home?" And I didn't. I was like, "You drink all the time too. You drink beer, blah blah blah." Whatever. To each their own. But what happened was I let I started letting something really get to me. And I didn't know the whole story and everything that happened, but I started using that as an excuse. That's what I'm going to say is I started letting that become my excuse to drink. And it wasn't that I was drinking to get drunk. It was drinking to be numb. And instead, I was drinking to become a bigger asshole than I was already. And I'll admit that. I mean, I'd still give you the shirt off my back, but I was a jackass, asshole. And I ruined a lot of friendships over my drinking. I held a lot of guilt to how I was raised and what people were getting and I wasn't. And I used everything as an excuse. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that made that decision. It doesn't matter who or what did whatever they did to me. I'm the one that chose to do and be an asshole and drink and be a bigger prick than I should have ever been, because I really do have a lot of love to give to people. But needless to say, I hit rock bottom. I was mad at my kid for not listening to me or respecting me, probably because I was a drunk. My wife and I were having some serious issues, and so I was drinking to numb that pain because I truly loved her, but mad at her at the same time, and I was mad at the world, and so I used it all as an excuse. And finally, one day I got into a breaking point, and me and my kid almost got into it, and I said, it's either him or me. Basically, it came down to where she's like, you're the problem, but I didn't want to hear it. So my suggestion was, I'm just moving out, and that was
I'll show you.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the really bad decision-making skills from Standon. And then I started pouring. I wouldn't drink at work, but boy, as soon as I was off the clock, energy drinks and Taka vodka.
Right to the bottom.
Right. Because it didn't give me a headache the next day. You drink Tito's and all the other stuff, and I was getting headaches. And I found the cheapest vodka on the market, and I didn't get a headache, but I still, I was out of control. I mean, if I had a Monster in my hand, it wasn't just an energy drink. It was 50-50 or 70-30. It was bad, and I'm not gonna lie. But needless to say, I hit rock bottom, and I drank severely the night before, and I couldn't stand being at the house I was at the point in time, and I drove to my parents' house, and I basically walked in the spare room, and my back was bad at the time, and laid on the bed and passed out basically from all the drinking I did prior to the sun coming up. And so I know I just reeked of alcohol and everything, and then my mom had some words for me, and I didn't like that, so I left, and of course stopped here in Waterford and grabbed bottle and headed home, and I had a mild dirt driveway to drive down, and I put down a lot. And when I left my parents' house after they said, I just want to say goodbye. And I didn't know really what it was I had planned or what, but I know I didn't want to be here anymore. So, when I just said goodbye, and next thing I know, I was laying on my bed at home, and I didn't have the gun, or I didn't even open the safe or nothing, but they walked in, and there was my mom and my stepdad standing there, and he's like, "Where's the gun?" I'm like, "In the safe," My mom's like, you need help bad. And so they took me in. My mom drove me in, and I spent 3 days and green plastic or paper pajamas and a security guard standing in front of a sliding window, And I sat there the whole entire time. And I mean, I wasn't violent. I wasn't nothing. I got in trouble because I snuck a chew. I wasn't supposed to have any tobacco. There was some issues, and so I knew they put all my stuff in a tote out front. And so when the security guard left, I didn't care about having a drink, but I ripped the tote open, I grabbed my Copenhagen, and I took a chew, and I put it back. And so I ended up getting in trouble for that. And, that's the only thing I got in trouble with. Needless to say, I wasn't putting two and two together, except for I just wasn't in the right spot. And I was still blaming everybody. Mm. And finally, I was in the hospital. And when they took my blood, I was a .28.
Yeah, baby.
And I was still talking to the nurse like I hadn't had a drop of alcohol. And she's like, you're drunk right now? And I said, well, I've been drinking, yeah. She was like, I can't tell except for the smell. And I was like, yeah, I have a problem. And then I happened to go into the hospital because I was dehydrated yet again, and I had 3 IVs running in me for fluids. And my wife walked in and she goes, "When is enough of fucking enough?" And it was like a light switch right then and there. And I was like, I've just thrown everything away. I've thrown my career away. I was making shit ton of money. But I was just blowing everything. I was just throwing my life away. And I decided at that point in time I wasn't going to touch it again. And it wasn't for God's sake or anybody else. It was like, this is for me now. And so I was and then she had came up to the house, and I had dirty dishes, and my clothes wasn't washed, and I was just a drunk. Just a lazy, sit around, feel sorry for yourself drunk. That's all there is. That's the only way to put it. I'm talking right now, and I don't know where to start and stop. But needless to say, I was just a drunk. And then my wife showed up one day, and I was like, we were soon to be ex. We'd signed paperwork and everything. And she just showed up. And I was like, oh, fuck, where are my bottles at? Have I hit them? Blah, blah. And next thing you know, she's cleaning the house. She make me do shit. And I'm just angry and mad. I'm like, why are you here? And excuse me. But needless to say, she here we are supposed to be getting divorced, and she came up to help me. And so I was, thankful my kids showed up. And then, of course, they found a drawer, and I had the 2 empty vodka bottles that I put there at some point in time that I didn't know when I did. And she found them, and then the kid just walked to the door because he was instantly mad, and which I don't blame him. And for me hiding it throughout all the years and shit that I've done. But needless to say, I went 10 days. And on my 4th day, I came down here to Waterford and to CBC, where they have the Tuesday and Thursday groups. And Melissa, her original name was Barker, last name was Barker. And I think you've had her sister.
Sarah, yeah. Sarah was on here.
Okay, so I worked with her dad back in the day, and he was a different cat, but her sister was there, and we've ran into each other in the past and everything else, and I've ran into her in meetings, and she goes, "Oh, you haven't been here for a while." And I said, "No." I said, "But I have a problem." I said, "I need help." And she goes, You ready?" I just remember her face going, "Are you ready?" I said, I'm ready. And she runs the female side of Nirvana.
Perfect place for you.
Oh yeah, so that's another thing I can explain. So I was like, "I need help," and she's like, "I'll give you a number at the end of the meeting or whatever." And so the next morning I got up and I called her, and then I started calling the numbers, and he goes, "I can get you in a couple days." And I'm like, "Well, I'll take it. Whatever you can give me, I'll take." And
That's ready.
Yeah.
And so I hadn't drank or anything, and the shakes and all that stuff were gone. I didn't have any of that stuff. I just was feeling low because I'd got a phone call from my parents, and because I was living in my grandparents' house at the time that was supposed to be my inheritance, and they said, "We've had a talk, and if you screwed up again, that you're out." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I screwed up." So they said, "We need you to pack your stuff and get out of the house." I said, "Okay." So I started packing. I spent all night the night before putting everything in totes, and Andy had helped me move some stuff down to her house and doing all this stuff and moving, and then I talked to Carol, and I said, I can't get everything out before I go in. They're getting me in soon. And she goes, "Don't worry about it. Just put everything in the spare room or whatever, and if we need to move it, we'll move it." And I said, "Okay." So the next thing I know, I woke up the next morning and I drive down to Andy's, and she said she would take me into Nirvana, and I'm looking at the website of Nirvana, and it shows a pool, and it shows all this stuff. I'm like, I'm packing shorts. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to swim. I had not a clue of what rehab was going to be like at Nirvana, And I'm going to say this right now. Thank you, Nirvana, for being what it was. I will say that much. It may not be the Taj Mahal of places, but it was what I needed. But needless to say, when you talk about your wife and your daughters dropping you off, Andy took me there, and she goes, "What do I do?" And I said, "I guess you say goodbye."
Yeah.
And so needless to say,
brutal.
Needless to say, I walk in, and it looks like an old morgue, and everything looks just run down and broken. We're talking like 1980s or 70s shit, and I'm like, oh boy, what did I get myself into? But needless to say, day 10 there is when it clicked for me that I don't need that in my life. I don't need drinking. I don't need any of that stuff. I don't feel it. And when I say I did my homework, I kept asking, like the packet that was supposed to be for like 2 or 3 days, I was doing within a couple hours. The hardest thing I had to do was the 25s. That one there, I sat in my. I'm gonna say this.
What are the 25s?
What did drinking get you, cause you? What'd you lose?
Oh, that's like in Maynard's. They say, because of my alcoholism, finish this night. Because of my alcoholism with my kids. Because of my
Yeah, and so you got to do 25 of those without repeating yourself.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll tell you what, you want a task in front of you, and then you put 25 goods without those being anything close to what it is. And to find 25 good things about yourself when you're laying on a
fuck.
And like I said, when you go to rehab at Maynard or at Maynard's, I don't know what it's like, but when you go to Nirvana, you have bunk beds and you have totes under your bed and you have a mattress that came over on the Mayflower, and I mean it's not. You're not there for a good time. I mean, and so I called it my 6th grade camp because I slept on a bunk bed. I did homework and I wrote letters to home. But every day I asked for a new packet, and it was a gentleman there that I really got close to, and of all things, he lived under a bridge over on Ninth Street, and he said for 4 years that he would walk his family all day, basically, him and his wife, his kids. At night, he would take them to the homeless shelter or whatever, and then in the morning he would get to the soup line or whatever, and that's what they did for 4 years. And we were sitting there in the office one day talking, and he's eating a piece of pizza, and I'm like, I thought you said you don't have any teeth in your head. And he goes, I don't have one tooth in my head, and he was eating pizza. I'm like, how in the hell are you doing that? He goes, you learn how to do it after you've messed up like you have in life, And I just remember thinking about that. But the funny part was my first go to Nirvana, I showed up in a polo shirt, shorts, tennis shoes, and they all thought that I was a cop or worked for Nirvana or something. And here I'm checking in, so people are walking by and they didn't know for the first couple of days, they didn't know how to talk to me because they thought I was like spying on them or something. And I'm like, no, I'm here for the same thing you are. But I just haven't been to jail. I haven't had DUIs.
Right. All the yets.
Yeah. So like I said, I just on day 10, I just really started I don't know why. I have school. I was horrible. I still, to this day, I can't learn, but I can put a motor together. I can do anything mechanical you want. I can figure out how to build it. But reading something, I can read the Bible or a Reader Digest, and I couldn't tell you what I just read.
Right.
That's just how I was or am. But needless to say, here I am at a year, but I'm still married. We canceled the divorce papers.
Nice.
And that was I know that was something major for me inside because I've always loved my wife. I never showed it like I was supposed to. I was angry at some stuff, and I just was a jerk, dick, asshole, whatever you want to call it. But I have a relationship with our son now. Again, he was pretty distant, which I don't blame him. I just lived a challenged life that I felt singled out. And so I never was the right person at all at the right times, like we all can be.
Right.
I do have a lot of love in me. I just never showed it the right way, right path, however you want to call it. But needless to say, things are working out for me. Larry helped me get a job when I got out.
And here's the thing about it. Here's it about this. I sent Standon, and Aaron listens to this, and so God love you, Aaron.
Yeah, no shit.
But Aaron he's my ex-business partner, right? And I love him to death. But he's not the easiest man to get along with, right? And I'm like, if Standon can be with this guy, he's going to be okay, right? So, and at the time, Aaron was looking for a dispatcher, and I sent him over there, and I'm like, let's see if this works. And you know what? They've been there. He's been there almost 6 months now, 7 months now.
I started September 17th.
Yeah, and
wow.
I mean, he's doing extremely well over there.
Hold
on. So what's been fun is, like I said, I've known Standon for a long time. When he says that he was the asshole and blah, blah, they came at one point, Stan and I were probably challenging to see who was the bigger asshole.
I was going to say.
Right?
I mean, that's a toss-up right there, baby.
I could be a prick asshole myself, pretty good. And so the two of us together was, the dynamite. And so when I started working with him, I was curious on how, because, I was different, but I didn't know how much Standon was different. And he had, right? I mean, he was broken, and
and he used that word more ready.
Yeah,
he was ready for change. He was ready for something new. He was, he crossed that threshold of pain that we must cross. now I'm ready for something different.
When Chris turned those chairs around in the room and I saw myself, right? And I saw the asshole and I saw every ounce of character flaw that I had in me, and I broke and I did that nasty, ugly crying like you say, because I saw myself, right? I saw what kind of a human being I'd become. The
mask was off, buddy.
And all I could do was cry because I just became just a piece of shit. And I saw that early on with Standon, that he saw that same thing, right? What we used as defense mechanisms growing up as a child, we had to put these defense mechanisms in front of us because Stan and I had a lot of the similarities of how we grew up. We put those defense mechanisms there, and when I saw those things starting to peel away from Stan, I'm like, man, he's got this, right?
Well, and this whole thing and rehab and Larry and everything, but when we're doing the steps, and these things that came were definitely been thought about. So I have a brain that the damn gears and that motor do not turn off, and it's stupid.
Welcome.
So yeah, the gym. I got back into the gym because back my story. In 2000, I was flipping a calf after having a couple morning cocktails at a branding, and I wasn't drunk, but I had a couple cocktails, and of course I was barbecuing and everything. So people found the bottle in my truck, so I was the drunk. But needless to say, I was flipping a calf, flanking a calf. My dad's horse moved over. It came down. My left leg went 90 degrees the wrong way. So I blew, my knee went out, and I got a new ACL, MCL, PCL. And then I did the walk, the crawl of shame into the barn, landing the horse shit. And then I had my wife stand up and stop crying. Well, my kneecap was halfway out still, but that's how my wife is tough. But then in 21, my appendix had ruptured. I went 14 days with my appendix ruptured. Didn't know it. Thought I was passing kidney stones. My wife, once again, saves my life. She gets me into a CT machine, and I spent the next 19 days in the hospital because I was septic.
Septic, yeah.
And 21, snowmobiling, top of Snore Pass, go for one last jump, KO'd it, landed on my back, blew my back out, messed up some discs, my L5S1. Everyone thought I was drinking, wasn't, just hurt myself, But needless to say, all this shit was, I went from always just kind of not ever getting too hurt except for like a sprained ankle or something, to next thing I know, I was 20, 21, 22, this 23, getting separated from my wife, 24, and I'm like, what else could someone throw at me? But throughout all that, one day it clicked, and I don't know if I was talking to jackass here, am I right or not, but it was during the steps that I really had to say it out loudly. And I have a cousin that my wife talked to, but she is like my best friend, and I just flat said, I've messed up so bad, but it's not for what someone did to me, it's what I reacted to their situation, what they did to me. Amen. And I said, I own that. And I said, I look back and whether I was an asshole to my brother, my mom, my stepdad, my sister-in-law, anybody out there to this day, I can't say that they were wrong for what they did to me. I can only say that I'm wrong for how I reacted to what they did. What they did. And so I own every bit. That's one thing I will say to this day, and I don't care who asks me. I am sorry, and I own everything that I did wrong to somebody because I could have handled that differently, and I didn't.
He had a good sponsor.
So I read that in the grocery store in the shop.
That's right.
It wasn't from my sponsor. It was a bus bench. That's where I got it from.
But if you notice one thing, because I want to get Matt back on if we can.
Yeah.
Larry, you're the chair turning around and my falling on my ass crying. We're very uneventful. Matt, tell me a little bit about your 11 days of, well, I guess I better get sober now. Because it's amazing none of us had really burning bushes. We just, okay, this is it. Well, actually, it was the phone call to your son-in-law.
Yeah, I just sat in my house, dude. It was, when you compare that 11 days to the totality of my using career, I literally sat in my house, right? It devolved very quickly, right? I was looking for heroin. I ended up on fentanyl and meth because there's no heroin in Houston. But I was so miserable, right? I had just gotten out of 3 years of treatment straight, right? Because I was looking at 33 years for a bank robbery, and they gave me this opportunity. The judge was like, look, I'm I'm going to let you save your own life. I'm going to give you this opportunity. But if you mess this up, I will lock you up for the rest of it. So I ran with that 3 years, and I made sure I completed it. But that was sobriety, right? There was no recovery, right? And so I came out to Texas, and now I can point to all the reasons, right? Boredom, lack of direction, no purpose. I can point to all that stuff. But the honest truth is, I like getting high, right? And the reality of the situation is, even though I had been sober for 3 years, I still had that question in my mind, like, okay, maybe, right? Like maybe I can, right? Because I'd never tried to use like a gentleman ever. I started using at 13. I used addictively and problematically until I was 31. There was no like stability, paying bills, having a job, going to school. No, it was like started using, kicked out of school at 16, prison at 19. I mean, and it was just right. And so it was like pure chaos from 13 to 31. And so I had this idea like, okay, like maybe if now that I'm a little bit stable, I can just do my thing, right? Like
enjoy my, control and enjoy your drinking, or control and enjoy.
I could drink like a gentleman, right? Like maybe I could do that. And so I tried it. And what I realized and this was a very important part of it, was that I feel like if I had stayed sober to this day after that 3 years, that I would still have that somewhere in my mind that maybe I could do it.
So you had to answer that question.
I had to answer the question. And because it was uneventful, and because I didn't go end up in jail or prison, or, like nothing really bad happened, I can honestly sit here from where I sit today and say, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it anymore. Right. And so yeah, man, dude. So I tell people all the time, like, look, they say that relapse isn't a part of recovery. What I say is that it doesn't have to be, right? But some people, it's massively important. For me, it was massively important.
Disagree with that,
Brian.
Yeah,
we have a couple guys, Matt. They were coming to our Monday night group that we talked about, but they weren't sure. They know they had, a lot of times with their problems, where they were drinking, but they weren't sure they were one of us. They didn't take it so they had to go try. They had to go answer that question, and then they came back. Okay, and it wasn't that they went to jail or prison, but they found that answer. And it wasn't what they wanted. They were one of us. They just hadn't gone to the depths that we had yet.
And nothing to, I mean, 'cause we're all in our own ways. We all have our own triggers, or whatever you want to call it. Recently, I've had a couple non-alcoholic beers after went for a hike and had a burger, and they had, which Guinness was like. I always want to go to Ireland, but I know I can't because I'm not going to leave a bar just because I like Guinness that much. But I found out they have a non-alcoholic Guinness, and I really wanted to have that with a burger. And I'm like, the guy goes, it's non-alcoholic. And I'm like, I see that. And he went to go to get it, and I was like, I'll try it. But I made him bring the can to me first, and then open it, because I had to make sure that thing said 000 across the board, But it wasn't. That's where I don't crave it. I don't need it. I have so many other, like my energy drinks now is my demon. But I had that one, and I had the flavor of a Guinness, but I didn't have to have that buzz or that triggered of the, what do we call it?
Your body makes that, the ease and comfort that comes from the first drink.
Mm-hmm.
But like the hike that I did with my wife, that was the joy. The great burger, and then it's the flavor, I guess. But I looked at that non-alcoholic beer as like that was the flavor, but I didn't need the alcohol part of it. It was just the taste of it, of the Guinness, I guess. But I mean, I know that's still not right, so I don't push it. Like I bought a 6-pack of Corona a while back, and it's
Wait a minute. Why is it wrong?
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Well, I guess because I don't want to say it's a. I don't want to be one of those people like
it's just not right for you.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to say that drinking non-alcoholic beers is okay, because some people that's not, because they're like, okay, well, if I have non-alcoholic beers, if I have 20 of them, is that going to equal a beer?
Yeah, but that's between them, their God, their conscience, their sponsor. That, because I've got guys that ask me the same thing. Is it my thing? No, I wouldn't. But
Yeah, but like I said, I
to
just
thine own self be true.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
yeah. I said, but do I need it every day? I don't know. I said it's just those few times I've had it, but after that, I'm like, no.
I think.
And usually that's what we find, isn't it? We've had 3 guys that have done that, and
Right.
that I've sponsored.
Okay.
That's fine. But eventually, they just it was just something to kind of hold. And eventually they stopped. They just they didn't want it anymore. But you got to be true to yourself. I mean, it'll come out in the wash.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I see when I quit drinking, I heard people talking about that. For me, I never even went back to it because I'm like, I don't even want it. That was just my decision. And the same thing when I quit chewing, right? I had to quit chewing for my back surgery. I had to quit chewing. And, you know, Jason, our other buddy's like, oh, you use sunflower seed, use this. And I'm like, listen, man, if I'm going to quit, I'm going to quit.
Yeah, don't
I'm not
trade
going to
for something
use
else.
another vice, right?
Now-
to me, that it's just another vice.
Did they ever come out with a non-alcoholic Jack Daniels?
You fucking idiot.
Motherfuckers. Can you come out with some non-tweaking methamphetamines? I'll snort the shit out of it. Come on. I'm just kidding.
Matt, this fucking guy, he fucking lives it for some reason. He loves talking about it. You know what? Hey, Matt, I appreciate you coming on here, man. I really do. This has been fucking awesome. Standon, did you want to finish with anything before I close out of here?
You know, like I said, my story's, you know, just different than the same.
Right.
It's different, but same as everybody else. You know,
Right.
but I'm very thankful for the group that is all been part of my journey that I'm living right now. I'm very thankful for all the help that the people that have lived and are living in the same shoes are all out here to be able to talk about it freely. And that's the one thing, like we said, we own our mistakes. You know, we're 100% the guilty one of the party. You know, and if anyone that says that they're not ready for this at all. Like
kidding.
you're talking about, I helped a gentleman at work, and I said, "Is he ready?" And he's like, "I don't think so." I said, "Then there's no point in getting him in there because you're just wasting."
Yeah,
you're
just
wasting
plant
your
at
time.
that point. Just plant seeds in water. Plant seeds in water is all you can do until they're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to get you back on, Standon, where we can actually spend some time with your story because he does have an amazing story that he worked through. I want to get all of it on here. We just this was more of a birthday celebration.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And it was. This is exactly what it was. It was a collaboration with My Last Relapse with Matt because I've been wanting to do this and I absolutely enjoy your podcast and I think I love it. And
Does your hat, Matt? Does your hat stand for undefeated?
Yes, sir.
yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, this has been fun. I always ask this question before I close it down. Otherwise, my wife shoots at me. Katie, you got any questions that you want to throw?
No, not
You
today.
okay? She's just back there, Matt. And if I don't ask the right question, she throws shit at me. So, anyways,
Can I get to ask Matt one question?
Go ahead.
That we're talking. You know, Matt. Whenever I work with Matt, we've asked everybody that we've had here who've been on one side and you've had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, or you're on this life. You know, the book says science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so.
Mhm.
You know, enable a man to control and enjoy an alcoholic, or now a man to control and enjoy his drug use. If they created a pill, Matt, that would allow you to drink like a gentleman, if you will, would you take it and give this life up?
The life I've got today?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Right. I've never had anybody. Yeah. Not even close, man.
Absolutely not.
isn't it fun to hear that response? Though?
Well, I knew what was coming. I could
Right.
tell. I can tell by the light in his eyes. I mean, and the fire in his voice. You know,
Right.
this is. We didn't even know this was possible, though.
No.
Not for people like us.
But we never started with this. I didn't.
No, I didn't.
I never started with an easiness of a heart like this. From a child, I can remember having heaviness in my heart. From a child, I remember it. I've never known life light like this. My wife didn't marry this man right here.
No, it's
I'm a
Brett.
different man.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be.
Yes, I don't remember a life with an easy heart. I always remember anxiety and heaviness in my life. So to have this now,
Yeah.
it's like, why the fuck would I give it up?
Never.
Never.
Not for anything.
There was nothing that is. It was real quick. I had an issue at work, and I lost my marbles. I mean, bad. I mean, that's the first time in years I had snot bubbles, and I mean, I was ready to go to jail, and I have never been to jail, but I was ready to throw down and take something that wasn't for me to take. And at the end of it, I was like, I'm letting somebody beat me.
Right.
That was my biggest thing. I'm letting someone beat me, and I'm letting someone make me who I'm not anymore. And that's when I was like, and I didn't crave alcohol. I didn't crave to do anything else like that. But I figured out that quick that I was more mad at myself for letting someone else beat me.
Right. I'm going to say one more thing before we cut out of here is, I follow Andy, his wife, on Facebook and stuff. And she sent me a message. And the reason why we do the things we do, Rob and I and Matt, and, we're working with these guys, is I got a message from his wife, and I saw a message saying how proud she was of this man right here. And when I saw that, I'm like, this is why we do this.
But just
this
imagine,
is why we do this.
God does all the heavy lifting.
Yes.
But yet he condescends to let people like us be conduits, to show us the glimpse of what it is to get out of yourself. It's not about you, and be able to touch a human life for the better.
And gives us the joy to watch
man.
it. And gives us the joy to watch it. To see these two going on hikes together and going on vacations together. They had divorce papers a year ago, right? They had divorce papers a year ago. Signed. And now life is. And
Matt,
it ain't easy, right? No. They're still working through some stuff.
Well, and that's what I imagine with Matt coming from the bridge,
right,
to marriage, and then not just growing up soberly together, and navigating childhood. That's huge. For me. That's just a testament to the program. Right. Also to their willingness to do it, but to God, and it's just amazing. I mean, they're amazing people.
Matt, I'm going to ask you because it's just something, but everyone says I'm not a very church-going person or whatever, but they say, your higher power, are you mad at your higher power for what that was done to you? And my thought is, whoever your higher power may be, I'm just saying that he had a path for me. And whether it was to take all my good and turn it into bad to where I see the good now, or however people want, but I don't blame anybody for saying that someone did me wrong, because I say it's the power is making us choose the path we're on now and who we're going to end our life being. I don't know how you feel about the higher power, what direction he gave you, or do you feel that you got bamboozled or...
Yeah, with hindsight, right? Obviously, it's not something that is graspable or understandable when you're in the thick of it. But looking backwards, I can't justifiably say there is no God anymore, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, we do not regret the past or wish to shut the door on it, right? And the reality that I face today is that every single experience and thing that happened was supposed to happen, right? So from being molested as a kid to ending up in prison really young to robbing that bank to losing my first wife and kid, all that stuff was supposed to happen so that I can do exactly what I'm doing today. And so when people ask me like, hey, do you regret anything? I always tell them like, there were times in my life where I lived in regret, but I don't regret anything from where I sit today. And the relationship that I have with my creator today is vastly different than what a lot of people would ideally want, right? But I know I'll never hear God's voice. I'll never see his face. I'll never interact with him like in person, because if he did, I probably wouldn't believe him anyway. If he was like, hi, I'm God, I'd be like, yeah, right? I have to continually search for that connection, continually strengthen the communication, and that's on me. It isn't on God to do it.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
I love that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, I'm gonna get us out of here. Standon, I love you, man. I'm so happy you're here. You impress me every day. Rob, I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
Matt, you're the best, man.
Man, thank you guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Baby, get us out of here. See ya.
See you, Matt. Great to meet you, brother. That's awesome. That's awesome.